welcome everyone to this week's Tim Talks. I have, I get to hang out with this guy a lot. You guys have seen him on Tim Talks multiple times. We've been together at DMSC. It seems like we're almost like we're like peas and cats. We're stuck together a bit. So we're fired up, and all I see is Steve ROESSLER's mohawk in the screen. So we are so happy today. And Steve, I'm going to let you do, if you'll pop out of there with your peacock hair, I'm going to let you do the intros today. There he is, the one, the only Steve ROESSLER.
If you ROESSLER, like Hulk Hogan,
like I did, ROESSLER in Kentucky. So yeah, exactly. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we always say, no one's smarter than everyone. Let's get better together. No agendas. We have got an amazing dealer group out in beautiful Oregon that absolutely just made a difference. They had an idea, they put it into place, they got their teams bought in, and they absolutely made a difference. Many of you have called in, many of you asked me, many of you have emailed or texted me after a show. Tim, this is all great stuff. How do I get my team bought in? Well, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna let you, the numbers that Steve was sharing with me, by the way, won an award at Driving Sales because these guys freaking dominated it. So I'm gonna shut up. Steve ROESSLER of Live with Drive is here with some of his favorite people. And Steve, I'm gonna let you intro. Yeah, I'm gonna let you intro, Steve. So I'll just shut up and you take it from here.
Yeah, no, like I said, I appreciate always being on the show, Tim, and always helping out and helping the dealer community out. So this was a presentation at Driving Sales that won the most valuable insight. So we're really excited about doing a case study. The philosophy that I always wanted to prove to dealers is dealerships are doing the wrong activity. The phone calls, the emails, and we've got to be better. We got to communicate, leveraging more text, more video, leverage technology to catch more fish, meaning get the customers to reply. And can we leverage human capital much better because they're precious. Our people are precious. So we got to spend their time wisely. So the gentleman here from the Capital Auto Group in Salem, we got Matthew Casebeard, dealer principal. We got Denny Eubank, and then we got Brian Schindler over there. He's the desk manager, managing the stores, keeping everything in line. So, and Denny takes care of all the internet. So when we started working with Capital, they were on a previous CRM. They switched over to Drive. And when you change CRMs, we're always challenging the dealerships to be a little bit different. And so they changed their process, what I think is so drastically in the positive direction. They took a chance to say, man, let's measure activity a little bit differently. And I don't want to steal their thunder, but ultimately their internet lead closing percentage in 2018, this was about an 18-month study we did, went from 7.2% to May 2020, which was like 16.6%, if I remember correctly, Denny. And these guys are just crushed it scheduling appointments. Their appointments were 800 appointments for the BDC. This is a 3-store group. It's a destination store. All 3 of their stores are. And they had to get 600 of those to show. And like 7 months after changing their process, they had 1,000 appointments and 800 shows, something like that. And obviously in May, they crushed it with like 1,300 appointments and 1,100 shows. And we can go out there and say all the time, hey, it's easy to go out there and, me and Tim are out there doing our thing, right? Teaching these guys how to do it. I get the hairs on the back of my neck are as big as the hair on my head here when I see dealerships just do it. And that's what I'm really excited that they're able to really share and answer questions. I really hope a lot of dealerships are on this call to really help understand, how do I change the culture at my store?
Can I jump in? I think the first thing is, and look, this video is going to get shared and reshared and put on LinkedIn and Facebook and all. But I just think, and I just met these guys, the key, I can answer a lot of questions, is for starters, the dealer principals on this call. If you want to talk about what we've gone through during COVID, which I hate even saying the word, everybody talks about the new normal. I talk about, and I don't even know him, and I'm bragging on him because number one, he took the time to be here. And during COVID, you know, our company obviously has grown, and we have it's a privilege to lead people, but a sign of great leadership is not what you do as a leader. And if anybody's been watching Tim Talks for a long time, I preach this. If you're a leader, it's not what you do, listen, but what people do because of you. So we've always said it starts from the top. And if somebody believes, so Matthew, I'm going to ask you the first question. You know, I know this crazy guy with crazy hair. I've been on the other end. I have sat in front of dealers when they've got the GIFs from this guy, and it's like, this guy won't go away. And he eats his, as we say in the software world, he eats his own dog food. He preaches GIFs, he preaches video, and man, he will blow you up with GIFs until 3. I mean, he's crazy. But
my God. Yes, he does.
At what point did I hit it right? But at what point did you say, you know what? And we won't mention your other CRM. That's not what this is about. But at what point did you say, you know what? I'm picking up what you're putting down, as we say in Kentucky. I'm picking up what you're putting down, but something went off in your head to make a decision. And obviously your internet manager, Denny, is here, and he's a huge part of that. And I don't know if the chicken came before the egg, but I just want to know how you did it, because many people say, where do I start? So where did you start?
Well, okay, so a couple of things. First of all, you know, the buy-in and the leadership and all that starts with culture, you know, at the dealership. And I'm a 4th generation dealer, general manager at our stores. And I'm very fortunate that my dad, who's been the dealer for the last 40 years, is always pushing. I mean, ever since I came back into the business, you know, every meeting, it's like, okay, that's great, but how can we get more? How can we get more? And that's just been the culture that he built up. And then, you know, beyond that, just on a customer level and an employee level, our vision as a dealer group it's to be the best at providing a unique, customer-driven automotive experience that includes respect, integrity, and innovation. So that last word, innovation, is in there for a reason, and we preach it all the time. So when we were with our previous CRM, and we had our internet department that was different than it is now, but at the time we had people in there going, God, I just want to be able to like text somebody easily. I want to be able to send a video easily and not have to jump through a bunch of hoops and cut and paste and blah, blah, blah. And like, what can we do? And it was at about that time that Steve started blowing us up with gifts and showing up at the store, you know, on random days of the week. Like, you don't even live here, Steve. Why are you in Oregon? What the hell? But it was really good timing for him. And then you know, it's a process, right? I mean, we couldn't just pull the plug on one and switch to the other. So we talked a lot about what that was going to look like. And fortunately, we had enough time because of the culture we have and because of that word innovation that everybody believes in at all of our stores. You know, it's not just me, it's Denny and Brian, who are also here. And then we've got an insanely good team of managers that are just willing to do whatever's going to make us better. And yes, it's painful and it takes time to get over that hump of change, but they all were able to see really the light at the end of the tunnel and realize that it's all just to make us better. That's all we want to do.
So did you have a meeting? I mean, I'm sure there was a bunch of meetings to discuss which new GIF or GIF or whatever you want to pronounce it he sent, but how many meetings did you have? And Denny, you guys there sitting in that room, at what point were you bought in? Because the numbers, look, we just came off, because no one gives two flips about what Tim Cox has to say or what Steve has to say, but what our dealers have to say when hey, this is where we were, this is where we are now. Because at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, I don't give two flips about VDPs or SRPs. I know you got to look at how many cars did I sell? How many more cars did I sell? It's all like, I can't go to the grocery store and say, hey, I had 20,000 unique impressions, pay for my groceries. No, how many cars did you sell? That's how you judge a vendor, period, end of story. So at what point did you say, you know what, let's take a look at this and I'm bought in? Because look, we have great technology. You can put a Ferrari in your driveway with an F1 transmission. If you don't know how to drive it, you're just going to sit there and look at it. So you got this brand new, pretty CRM. At what point did you say, oh, there's had to be a tipping point, like Malcolm Gladwell says, right? That one moment in time that you flip over. What turned it? Because you guys obviously did it. You're selling a couple hundred more cars every single month now. So what pushed you over the edge to say, let's get this done?
So I mean,
Yeah,
for us, it was a process. It was going to Drive Centric was a year in the making. Brian and myself and Matthew, we went to St. Louis and we visited them and we saw everything and we saw how it worked. And it wasn't it was a culture change before it happened, really. Matthew preached to everybody, this is what's coming. Believer leaves, a big deal around here. It's a saying. And before the CRM even came to us, everybody was ready to go. And I think that was the big thing of, like Matthew's saying, it wasn't just an overnight switch. This was a year coming in preparation to understand things are changing and you need to get on board.
You know, I'd also say it's, you know, you can, anybody out there that, you know, that's a dealer or a manager that deals with vendors coming in. I mean, Steve's job is to sell the dream, right? So he comes in and shows us this amazing product, but at the end of the day, you know, that first meeting, everybody's skeptical. I mean, does it really work how he says it's going to, and are there add-ons or blah, 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 you know, and that's all based on previous experience with other CRMs or vendors that we've had. But, you know, the good thing, I mean, Steve is persistent. We all know that. And that's a good thing because that allowed us to see it multiple times, you know, get in there and actually kind of look at the system with other people throughout that year so that they could see, oh, okay, well, this thing actually does work. And like, we're going to be successful using it. And hey, maybe it is actually better than this previous one we have. So we had that span of time that allowed us to get that buy-in from everybody.
And that being said, Tim, this is Brian. We've had a business development center for 21 years. I've been here 21 years. One of the great things about Capital is culture and everything. We have longevity. We promote from within. But obviously it's grown quite a bit. When I started back then, we were doing faxes and hand copied logs, and it was crazy. But I think really the tipping point for us was after sending that 100th video and seeing just how much better our response rate was, feedback from customers, and instantly just the closing rate is like, okay, we thought that was going to be what would happen. We took a leap of faith, an educated leap, but after just seeing results quickly after month 1, then month 2, month 3, it's like there's no denying the success we're having.
You know, I love this story. And as I'm talking, Steve, would you do me a favor? Would you find that? And I know we're not going to do a PowerPoint, but I want to show the viewers and the listeners the year over year. Don't throw it up yet, but get it up on your computer. Because look, money talks, selling cars talk. I want to show from before and after when you engage with your consumer, and not only engage, we talked about this on TIMTALKS, we talk about this all over the country. You know, we're all a big fan of David Kane. I'm not sure if he coined the phrase, we say it, and everybody listening will finish my statement. Experience is the new brand. When we give people a better experience by talking to them like we talk to our wives, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, all that stuff, you know, when we take these walls down, driving sales says 99% of every customer getting ready to shop for a car expects to have a bad experience. So if you set the tone early, what I love, and I just met you, I don't know y'all from Adam other than the last 15 or 20 minutes here, but what I love about your dealership and I love about Matthew and your leadership is what I'm seeing is no egos. What I'm seeing is you want to have somebody, because sometimes we decide to put a new product in, and because it wasn't our idea, we poo-poo the product. So the fact that you're sitting in there, Brian, with Denny, and you've got an internet director, and you've got a sales manager, GSM, sitting in the same room, and the owner on this call, all rowing in the same thing. There's two things that kill any business, let alone a dealership, and that's insecurity and pride. And the fact that, and it's all over the place, and the fact that I can see that right now is very, very encouraging, and I believe partly responsible for most of your success. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at the screen right now, and this is where the rubber meets the road. And I'm gonna let you, all of you guys, one of you guys or Steve, you can go through these numbers if you'd like, but I really want people to dive in to look at the engagement, the amount of leads, And most importantly, the amount of cars sold. 140, 291. I don't want to steal your thunder, but go ahead, Steve. Go through these numbers. And then I would like our listeners to see what brought them to there. I do think that visual is important. You know, how many appointments, how many connections. I want you to go through that slide as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is the slide that I think a lot of dealerships can really learn from. And, you know, when you go out there and you kind of think about what we measure every day is how many leads do we get, how many appointments, how many show, and how many delivered. There's so many mysteries of what's going on in between that you got to focus on. And this is a great slide that we go out there and illustrate. Says if you can talk to more customers, you'll schedule more appointments. So if we just look at, again, these guys switched over. This has been kind of like an 18-month kind of study we've been looking at by measuring the performance. But we looked at obviously May, just to look at those numbers, 1754 leads was their total leads that they had of the 3-store group. Overall, their engagement was 70%. So that means out of the 1754, they can only schedule 1,228 appointments. I can't if I can't schedule an appointment with somebody that doesn't talk to me. So how many appointments do they get? 639. That means they're converting for every 2 customers they talk to, 1 appointment. And that's something we need to start thinking about. Now, I mean, that's a very high one. Normally I see about a 40% conversion rate, but so that obviously they're above par. And now the other thing too is how many of those showed up? And this is where they're talking about the video. You know, you look at that, I think it's like 70%. I mean, Denny, you could do the math on that, but it's almost like 70% or more are showing up after they schedule the appointment because they're sending videos after they schedule the appointment. And hence more people are showing up and buying cars. So that's really what we need to start celebrating is the process of scheduling the appointment, but how to ensure that those appointments show up more importantly now than ever. And that's what video, I think, Denny, you guys can talk about your what you guys have seen with video as far as performance-wise.
With video, I've done some stats just to see. So if we have an appointment scheduled, and after the appointment scheduled, the salesperson sends a video to introduce themselves, 81% of the time that car sells. So
say that one more time.
I said, if we have a BDC schedules an appointment, we let a salesperson know. Salesperson sends a video to the customer after the appointment, an introduction video. 81% of the time that car sells. It knocks down the wall. It knocks down the fear of coming to the dealership, not knowing who you're going to talk to. So they know who they're going to talk to. They're already familiar with them. They walk in and ask for them. They get that person. It's flawless. It's amazing the amount of comfortability it gives the customer when they know who they're going to meet with.
And just to give Denny major props here. Denny, please state what your goals for appointments and shows are.
Per month?
Yes.
So, I mean, things have changed with COVID a little bit, obviously, but
right.
Our goal for the month is we want 1,000 shows every month.
Oh, well, it changed since we first started. It used to be 800 and 600.
Well, yeah, now we're going up because it's
okay, well, there you go.
800 is an amazing month, 900 is an amazing month, but with people not wanting to come to the dealership without prior contact, those numbers are going to inflate a little bit for us. So on a standard month, I'd say, yeah, 800 to 900 shows is really what we want, but I'm shooting for 1,000.
Hey, I do have a quick question. When you say shows, obviously, you know, I love Steve, and I've quoted Steve before. Steve has that little, I guess I don't know if it's an emoji or a GIF or whatever you want to call it in his arsenal, but, you know, what's your pain level deal? You know, are you delivering any of these remotely? Are all these people coming into the store, or, you know, most of these 1,091 shows and 525 delivered. Do you know, I know I'm not looking at it here, how many of those people actually came into your dealership? Look, every state's different, I get it, but how has that affected you there?
Yeah, we don't have a huge percentage of off-site deliveries. We do a lot of negotiations and things online and get the deal basically done. But here in Oregon, at least, I would say probably 500, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, of those were delivered in the store. You know, it's 1 or 2% of people that want to go through the entire process. and have the vehicle delivered and do everything at home without coming into the showroom.
Yeah, for May, out of that 525, we delivered 4 at the house.
Got it.
So it's not a big deal. Like Steve was saying at the beginning, we're kind of a destination store, big fish in a small area. So people come here. It isn't as big of a deal as it has been in the big cities.
And you know, I mean, we have all of the protocols in place, and we definitely have it offered to, you know,
Yeah.
we will absolutely deliver to somebody's house, and we do the same thing in the service department. But for whatever reason, where we're at, that just hasn't been a big part of our business.
Yeah. No, look, everybody, I've got, you know, dealer, it depends on where you're at. I've got dealer groups that, you know, salespeople couldn't take ups for 6 weeks out of the quarter, and they did just as many cars. So obviously it depends on, you got to overcome and adapt from where you are. You know, I would be, you know, would you explain to everyone watching, you have a BDC, and I'm assuming it's a centralized BDC, correct? That handles all 3 stores?
Yep.
Yes.
And those BDC, will you go through the tasks? You know, Steve was telling me earlier that they have to go through so many, whether it's email, text, or chat, or video. They've got to go through so many things a day, and it doesn't matter what it is, but they've got to go through X amount. Whether it's Steve or Denny, or would you somebody jump in there and you, because a lot of people talk about, I answer these questions. In fact, I know you're David Kane fans. David Kane answers these questions all the time about pay plan and motivating people. You know, you guys did something kind of unique to where you tied these tasks, that's a tongue twister, these tasks to their pay plan. Could you walk us through, because I know people, and by the way, if anybody has, I'm seeing the people on here, Brian, I know you guys have a BDC. I know I'm seeing all these people that are logged in that I know you have BDCs. And one of the big questions is, how do you tie in pay plan, or what's the one thing that you guys did that really made sure that their tasks were done? You made it fun, but you did tie into the pay plan.
So I'll take that, Matthew. So what we did, I'll start with the tasks, and then we'll work those into pay plan. So with the tasks is, I've came to a realization of doing this for a long time, and I came from the moto world, and I did kind of the same job there. And what it is I want 120 tasks from people a day. I don't care what they are, a video, a phone call, whatever's productive, because in the end, no one works the same way. So we let people dictate their own pace here. If your pace is to send 1 million videos, then that's your pace. If your pace is to call the call, why am I going to tell you to do something differently if what you're doing is successful? When it's not successful, then let's talk about your process. But we shouldn't be dictating the way people work. Everybody works differently. We're not the same people. So with that, what I did is I gave everybody the freedom to do what they want as long as they hit 120 tasks. And then we get into, well, what happens if they don't hit 120 tasks? And that's where we tied it into their pay plan. So every day that they don't hit 120 tasks, one of two things happen. Either they have the 8 appointments on the board that I want from them a day, and then I don't care what your tasks are. You were productive. If you don't have 8 appointments on the board for that day and you didn't hit 120 or 120 tasks, it's 1% of your paycheck for that day if you're not there. So if it'll cut into it, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but if somebody's gets lazy for 10 straight days, that's 10% of their bonus. And it turns into a big deal for people. But with giving the people freedom to do the tasks they want and to do the way they want to engage, I haven't had anybody miss that 120 mark in probably 7 months. Nobody.
I love that. So was that, and not that this matters, but Denny, was that something, the 120, you brought that into the store? That wasn't like a Steveism or anything? That was just something
that was just something after a few months of being on Drive. I just kind of did the numbers, and that's what I felt could be done productively without pushing someone to be a task monkey. If you ask for more than that, people just start doing tasks to blow through tasks. And what I'm finding is most of my people are in the 140 to 160 range for tasks without me even asking them to be there, because they're much happier in their day doing things the way they want to do it. And I have a really good crew right now. It took a long time to get there. Just like Matthew's got his sales managers that are good right now. It took him probably a long time to get there with them. But I have people that I can trust to do their job because they want to do their job. And it brings it back to what you said about wanting to do it from the top down. So when you give the people the freedom, what I tell them is your seat's like a barbershop. If you keep earning, you get to keep your seat. If you don't keep earning, you don't get to keep your seat. And when people are motivated to do things their own way, like their own business, they're way more inclined to do things the right way for Matthew and the K-Spears because they take pride in their job. They're not just doing it because someone told them to. They're doing it because they take pride.
That's great. You know, Matthew, I want to touch base on that really quick. You know, you mentioned sales managers, you know, and again, I know this happens, guys. And I'm not being pious, I'm not, but I have a lot of conversations. We've been blessed. We have 4,000 plus, approaching 5,000 dealerships. I have a lot of conversation. And the one conversation that happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over again is, you know, buy-in. I need to get buy-in. And back when we were traveling and I was living on a plane like Steve, you know, we'd go and we get everybody fired up and it was easier. But, you know, when, you know, salespeople were kind of, and sales managers, you know, usually sales manager progression is you crushed it in sales. Maybe you went to an F&I manager, then they put you on the desk, then you went up. No quote unquote formal training, and presto, now you're in charge. So we're all kind of wired, ADD, all that kind of things. But talk to the dealer principals, talk to the general managers out there right now that need their GSMs and their sales managers bought in. And I know, look, believe or leave, I get it. But how did you, and I want to land the plane here, but how did you get your people totally, because look, first of all, congratulations, Denny. I know Brian just left. Congratulations, Matthew. Truly encouraged, because I know, listen, I'm looking at the list of people. I know this is going to get shared. And I'm looking at a list of people here that I've had this conversation with that's listening right now. So would you just speak into them as you're speaking into most people's living rooms and their offices right now? How did you get buy-in and get everybody fired up per se to make this work?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, you know, it's myself and my brother that are owners and dealers now. And like I said, my dad was before us, and, you know, we don't look at the business as the car business. We look at it as the people business, and more importantly, as the hospitality industry. I mean, that's really what we feel we're in. So it starts with the people. And for us, we have a variable director that oversees the sales departments for all of our stores. So he's kind of a one person that I can go to when I need something done at, you know, with one person or an entire store or whatever it is. And we're fortunate to have that set up. But to anybody out there, I mean, you got to have a champion that's going to be able to lead the crew. I mean, if you're excited, Steve's going to be excited coming in. And then if that gets you excited, then you got to find the next person to get excited, and so on and so forth. And that's really what allowed us to do this, because Arthur is his name. And, you know, I was able to go to him, and Steve knows Arthur, and, you know, show him the product and go, listen, if you want to sell more cars, and if you want to get more people here with more opportunities, if you want to engage with more people, and, you know, at the end of the day, we're probably going to make more money doing it, then this is the product that we need to at least try, because I think it's going to do wonders for us. And I need you to think that too. So, you know, that took some conversation, because change is never easy for anybody, and probably most, especially sales managers. But, you know, at the end of the day, when he's motivated and talking about it all the time, then I start hearing the chatter with everybody else. And now they're like, hey, we got this new thing. And, oh, wow, they can send videos, and texting is easy. And, oh my gosh, I can see all the information in one screen. And this, you know, then they start to go, oh, wow, okay, this really is unique. And it's a good system for us to be involved in and working in every day. And, you know, you, Tim, I'm sure you know as well as I do, like, I have to constantly be on top of it and in the system and making sure people are doing stuff. And it's not puppy dogs and unicorns every day that everybody's just suddenly, hey, we got this thing and now we're just going to do it all perfectly. That's absolutely not the case. But it makes it easier for everybody, A, to do what they need to do, and B, for me to see what they're doing so that I can make sure that we're pushing forward and going where we need to go. So the buy-in part of it, again, is just, for me at least, it was finding kind of that one person that I knew was going to be able to lead the charge really with them every single day, talking about it, getting pumped up. and he's a motivation kind of guy anyway. So that really worked in our favor for sure.
Let me follow up on that really quick for Matthew here. So the Caspers have created a culture here to where it's like a river. Everybody's flowing the same way, and there might be a few people that try to swim upstream, but they're not going to last long. And the culture's been accepted by everybody, and it makes everyone's lives easier if you're in the kayak that's flowing the way of the river. And that's how it really is here. I've worked at a lot of places, and a lot of your viewers are probably listening to me saying, yeah, you're tooting your owner's horn because he's on the video, but it's the truth. It really is. If you don't buy into the culture here and you're not willing to flow the same direction, you'll eventually weed yourself out. You don't need to be weeded out by anybody. So the buy-in, it's real here.
Hey, let me ask Denny a quick question here, because I want to make sure that a lot of the viewers, they hear some of the things I know that Denny does in his process, at least for internet lead follow-up. Denny, do you mind sharing how long do you follow up with an internet lead that comes in today? What's your follow-up process, and how far out do you go until you don't reach out anymore?
So day one, we'll reach out. I mean, it really depends on contact information, right? But let's just go with a lead that has everything: an email, phone number, and we can send them video. We can do everything. Okay, so we'll send them. First off, it's still, and Steve might disagree with it a little bit here, but we're still a phone call first if there's a phone number. If there's a phone number, we call. And then next, it's a video to set up the email and the text message opt-in.
Right. But how far out do you go? I think that's where I'm more or less going.
How far out do we go? We go 13 days manually, and then everything else is AI out to 45 days.
Okay, I want to make sure everybody hears that. Okay, because that right there is key. And those are the numbers that I always talk about. The average customer is in the market for 14 days, 80% of the time. And that may freak everybody out, but that right there, they are selling cars because they're focused on the meat and potatoes. They're leveraging their people to call on the customers, to reach out, touch the customers in a 13-day window, and let technology take care of the rest. And that may freak a lot of people out right now on the call.
Well, and you know how unbelievably happy that makes your employees to not have to just keep calling people over and over and over and over again that are never answering the phone. We give them 13 days, and then our AI, that's her job.
Steve, you're exactly right, because I was in that exact same boat when we started talking to you, and we had a 60-day process that had some automation in there and templates and whatnot. And then it started over at day 61, and it went all the way out to 120 days. And there's all these to-dos, and everybody's got, it's just, you just get overloaded with that stuff. But we were used to it, and we thought that we were doing it the right way. And, you start talking about engagement, and then, really we're not really engaged with those people past the 2-week mark. It took us a minute to buy in for us, speaking of buy-in, to buy into that. But once we did, like Denny said, well, suddenly we're a lot more productive, and we got more people coming in, and it works a lot better. And you can see from the numbers that you show, but I can just from experience, watching what Denny has done to grow the department, and it really is true. Scary, but true.
That's right. I want to make sure I highlight that, because that's, again, part of the process. I think, dealerships get challenged with how long should I follow up for? And that's a big part of it. What you do in the first 14 days, I'm always about spray and pray, let's make sure we get engaged by their.
Clarify that really quick though, because if a customer's engaged with us, we'll follow up as long as they need to be. But yeah, with an unengaged customer, it's 13 days. And
there you go.
We're done. So
that's that I think we answered, but didn't. There's a couple questions that's come in, and Denny, I know you answered one. Your lead increase, the amount of people, those numbers that you showed did go up. So did you change any outlets? Did you, I know you said here in your answer, choosing the right lead providers is the key. Also, you have a great marketing department, but did you change anything because those leads had to come from somewhere. They weren't there because before you weren't talking to as many people, or, what did you change anything? Did you do
Yeah, well, yeah, so I'll clarify on that there. So what it is with Drive Centric, we are able to take on more leads. It is really what it is. We were unable to handle those leads with our previous provider because of the cumbersomeness of the lead provider. So with less people, we're able to do more leads. So what I've done is is every lead provider, well, most of them anyways, except for the OEMs, you can dictate how many leads they're allowed to send you. You can tell them, I only want X amount of leads a day. I only want this. This is all my team can handle. So with opening up with DriveCentric, I just opened the floodgates after I saw what it was. And I said, send us every single lead you can send us. And we're able to get to them now is the key. So if for the people asking, how do you increase those? I would take a look at what your settings are for Edmunds, for Auto Trader, for whoever you're working with, because there are settings in there that only allow criterias of leads to come in, and you can open that up to a bigger base.
And
So,
Tim, real quick, part of the other lead increase. So our 4 franchises are Chevy, Cadillac, Subaru, and Toyota. And in Oregon, Toyota holds an almost 21% market share. So because of that, and they, in our, at least in our region, they drive all of that internet traffic and SEM and all that stuff. But so because of that, market share has just been increasing, and therefore leads have been increasing, and all of that. So that has definitely contributed, especially over the last year, in the time frame that Steve pointed out. The Toyota specifically, that market share has grown a lot.
And these leads for people too, what I'm seeing in the car business is these aren't going away. They're going to keep growing. They're going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing. The more people understand technology and don't want to come to a dealership. So to see those leads, if yours aren't progressing at all, then you really need to deep dive into who your providers are and what they're providing you, because your leads should be going up every single month. It's just a fact. That's how people shop now.
Well, and let's remember that during April and May, everybody was stuck at home. So yes. Yeah, that also contributed to an increased lead count.
Yeah, and guys, I think we're in the car business right now, and I know that I want to get to one more question, but in March it was the world's ending, April and May record months. Now we're running out of inventory, so it's just changing. Once the inventory gets backed up, I think the car business is going to be very, very good for the immediate and near future. So it's almost survivor guilt. There's a lot of crazy things with COVID, and we feel for those. It's I don't even want to go there, but I'm saying that you are absolutely correct when you say leads should be going up and up and up. Let me okay, so you did answer that question. So no calls. Anthony Mendoza asked, so no calls after 14 days, not to customers that we have not had contact with. So basically, just to clarify, Anthony, if I'm hearing that question right, if they're not, if somebody pings the dealership, whether it's email, chat, text, you try to respond, and for 14 days, they're not calling, you're not calling them again.
Nope.
Correct. Okay. So just to clarify that. Listen, this has been
and real quick, I got Brian Tools on, and so he asked about the AI. And one of the things I guess I want to make sure, I know Denny can talk about how have you leveraged artificial intelligence to allow you to take more leads, and maybe you could share like what you would give credit to the AI as far as serving it up for like appointments. How are you leveraging technology to get those appointments in so many words?
It's really not rocket science. What it is when I first started in BDC was the sales assistant, right? That's how you approached it. That's how you got the customer to break down the wall so they didn't think you were another salesperson. We treat our AI exactly the same way. Our AI is our BDC internet team's assistant. And so it doesn't conflict. We use that tool to reach out to these people, to give us time to talk to the people that we're already engaged with. Why do we need to get the customer's immediate information if the AI can just do it for us, and then we can jump in the conversation when it's relevant to close this customer?
And I will say, AI, there's probably a bunch of people out there going, oh, come on. AI, how good can it be? Or maybe you're afraid of it. I was skeptical of what it was actually going to do. I got a phone call from Denny, it was a month or two ago, in panic mode, because we had an appointment set for a car that we had sold the night before, and for whatever reason, it just didn't get taken offline or out of the system. So at like 5 a.m, before anybody was awake or in the store, the AI had set an appointment on that car, and everybody, oh my God, I can't believe it. How dare she set an appointment that isn't even here? Oh, I went, oh, you guys, time out. Do you realize what just happened? No one was awake, and we have a customer ready to come into the store. That's amazing. I mean, it's incredible. So,
You know, Brian,
That customer bought a car anyway.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, so look,
I'll have to
I get it.
I've been, and I'm an advocate for it now, but I was one of the people in the beginning, and Matthew knows this, and Steve, you probably weren't involved in this, but I called Drew and I called a couple of the guys that drive Sense a few times, and I wanted it shut off.
Yep.
Because I didn't understand how to work with it yet. And so once I learned and had it come through and understood how to work with it and utilize it correctly, now I'm like the biggest fan in the world. But in the beginning, I was like, turn it off. It's interrupting things. I can't get it going. I don't know what's going on. My people aren't getting appointments. And then it was light bulb went off and I said, this is easier. So I just had to change my own mentality and keep ever evolving with it, or I was going to fall behind. So
That's amazing. Hey, listen, we might have to do a sequel to this. This has been great stuff. Brian, we know it's true. So we took over, our company takes over CTAs like Get E-Price, Schedule, Test Drive, others. And we've seen nearly 133% increase in just lead conversion when you make that flow. So I'm picking up what you're putting down. Listen, Matthew, Denny, Steve, guys, thank you so much. I think this has been one of our best yet. If you have any further questions, if something hits you, Steve, I'm not going to publish Denny, or I'm not going to put or Matthew's contact information out there, but I will reach out to me at tim@carnow.com, and I'll get with Steve. And if you have quick questions, or not quick questions, but if you have any questions, look, this car business has been good to all of us. Denny just bought a hot tub. Denny bought a motorcycle. He's cranking right there, man. So this business has been good to us. And look, when as we preach every single week, when you are significant in someone's life, instead of worrying about chasing money, when you're trying to be significant, whether that's your spouse, your whoever you're working for, your people, that's when success comes. So thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Denny, for being significant in our.
Jim, if you want, I did send, for everybody on the call, I did send you the case study, Tim. So if you want to share that with any of your viewers, your audience, by all means, it's really all activity based. So by all means, feel free to share it and celebrate that success, and maybe it'll impact the dealerships as far as how to do it.
You're more than welcome to share my contact info. I'm happy to field questions and talk to anybody.
Awesome.
We're good at screening things. It's not a big deal. So send it out.
That's right. They screen me all the time.
I'll send you a Jeff.
Yeah.
I'll send you a Jeff. Not peanut butter, but I'll send you a Jeff. Hey, listen, guys, thank you so much. Listen, please join us next week. Don't forget, as always, no one is better or smarter than everyone. So let's get better together. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you guys.